The grand corporate building of Silvertech Industries towered over the city skyline, a symbol of power and success. Inside, CEO Bradley Whitmore sat in his leather chair, flipping through financial reports, uninterested in anything beyond profits. Meanwhile, in the lobby, a frail woman in tattered clothes hesitated near the reception desk. She clutched an old purse, her hands trembling as she asked for help. "Please, I just need a moment with someone from HR. I applied for a job, but I haven't heard back. My children are hungry, and I'll take anything," she pleaded. The receptionist, sensing her desperation, looked around nervously. Before she could respond, a kind-hearted employee named Daniel, who had overheard the conversation, stepped in. "Ma'am, let me see if I can help you get an answer," he said warmly. Just then, Bradley Whitmore appeared, his expensive suit radiating arrogance. He took one look at the woman and scowled. "We don't hire charity cases. Get out of my building," he sneered. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Sir, she just wants a chance to work," but Bradley cut him off. "You want to help her? Then you can leave with her. You're fired." A hush fell over the lobby. Employees stared in shock. But before Bradley could turn away, a deep voice cut through the silence. "You sure about that decision, son?" All eyes turned toward the entrance. Clint Eastwood stepped forward, his gaze steady, his presence commanding. The tension in the room thickened as Clint Eastwood strode toward Bradley Whitmore, his steely eyes locking onto the arrogant CEO. Employees whispered among themselves, some pulling out their phones to record what was happening. Bradley, oblivious to who Clint was, let out a scoff. "And who are you? Another one of these charity cases?" Clint chuckled lightly, but there was no humor in his voice. "No, son. Just a man who's seen too many people like you, rich, powerful, and blind to the value of decency." The CEO rolled his eyes. "Listen, old man, I run this company. I make the rules. If I want to fire someone, I will. That's business." Clint took a slow step closer, his voice calm but firm. "Business is about people. And a good leader knows that taking care of those people is what keeps things running." Bradley scoffed again, but some employees were nodding in agreement. Daniel, still stunned by his sudden termination, looked at Clint with gratitude. The homeless woman clutched her purse tighter, her eyes filled with silent hope. Clint turned to Daniel. "Son, you didn't do anything wrong. Helping someone in need? That's the kind of person I'd want working for me." Bradley let out a sarcastic laugh. "Oh really? And what exactly do you do?" Clint smirked. "Funny you ask. You might want to check who owns a good share of Silvertech before you go around firing good employees." Bradley's smug expression faltered. The room went eerily quiet as an executive assistant ran in, holding a file with shaking hands. "Sir, I just checked, Mr. Eastwood is one of our biggest investors." Gasps rippled through the room. Bradley's face turned pale. Clint Eastwood was not just some old man giving unsolicited advice, he had power in the very company Bradley thought he ruled. Clint's piercing gaze never wavered. "I may not sit in this fancy office, but I have a say in how things run. And let me tell you something, firing a man for being decent? That's not the kind of leadership I support." Bradley swallowed hard, his bravado crumbling. Employees exchanged glances, some smiling discreetly. Daniel, still processing what was happening, looked at Clint with newfound admiration. "Mr. Eastwood, Clint raised a hand. "You don't owe me anything, son. But you do deserve better than working under someone who doesn't respect kindness." He then turned to the homeless woman. "Ma'am, you applied for a job here?" She nodded hesitantly. Clint smiled. "Let's change that. Effective immediately, you're hired. And as for you, Bradley, you might want to rethink how you treat people before you find yourself without a job." The employees erupted into murmurs. Bradley, sweating now, tried to salvage his authority. "Wait, let's not act irrationally, Mr. Eastwood." I didn't mean," Clint cut him off with a sharp look. "You meant every word you said. You looked at that woman and judged her worth in a second. You looked at Daniel and saw him as disposable. That's not leadership, it's arrogance." Bradley shrank under Clint's gaze. Clint turned to the employees. "A company is only as strong as the people running it. And it's people like Daniel, people willing to help others, who make a real difference." The crowd nodded in agreement. The homeless woman wiped a tear from her eye, overwhelmed. Clint placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You'll start Monday. And Daniel, if you still want to work here, your job is safe. But if not, I know plenty of companies that'd be lucky to have you." Daniel, still stunned, managed a grateful nod. Bradley, realizing he had no way out, forced a stiff smile. "Of course, we value all our employees here. This was just a misunderstanding." Clint chuckled. "Sure it was, son. Just remember, respect isn't just given because you have money. It's earned." With that, Clint Eastwood turned and walked toward the exit, leaving Bradley standing in stunned silence. The employees, energized by what they had just witnessed, started clapping. Some even patted Daniel on the back. The homeless woman, now employed, wiped away another tear, unable to believe what had just happened. Bradley, now completely humiliated, slumped in his chair, realizing that his actions had cost him the respect of his own workforce. Outside the building, Clint Eastwood walked down the sidewalk, pulling out his phone. "Yeah, I just made some changes at Silvertech. Good ones," he said with a smirk before hanging up. Life had just taught a valuable lesson to the arrogant CEO: kindness and respect held more weight than power and money ever could. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss another inspiring tale.